Could Yujiro win Mr. Olympia? We all know he is absolutely ripped. I gave him a 37 out of 40 from an open bodybuilding division, which is incredible considering he has more of a classic physique type of frame. Having said this, when we compare him to the classic Mr. Olympia winners of the golden era, Yujiro would dominate on muscle mass alone. I actually wonder if judges back then would have marked him off for being too big. Either way, most shots portray Yujiro as being bigger and more conditioned than any bodybuilder before the 90s. But if we take modern day bodybuilders, that's a different story. In recent years, you have the likes of the mass monsters, starting with Dorian Yates and Ronnie Coleman. And now we have the current Mr. Olympia, Big Ramy himself. You don't get a name like Big Ramy without being absolutely massive, especially in professional bodybuilding where everyone is already massive. So let's take Yujiro's biggest shots and compare them with Big Ramy. For the most part, frame-wise, Big Ramy is bigger, and that's good in some ways and bad in others. For instance, he destroys Yujiro in the legs, but he has a less aesthetically pleasing midsection. Side note, aesthetics don't matter as much in open bodybuilding, which is why they created the classic division, but it's still a factor. You don't see people with the quote-unquote bubble guts winning as much anymore. When we take a look at their backs, I actually think Yujiro does really well. I mean, that's kind of what he's known for, the demon back. Even shots where he's relaxed, his back dominates most. Big Ramy has a great back, but it's not his specialty feature. Then we move into the front half of the upper body, and I have to say I think Yujiro holds his own. Of course, as with most Baki characters, we have some proportion issues going on with the arms as compared to the shoulders and the forearms, whereas Big Ramy is quite proportional. Side note, Yujiro is super flexible because he's a fighter, but did you know that bodybuilders are oftentimes very flexible as well? That's because when you lift through a full range of motion, you're actually stretching out those muscles. And so you actually have a lot of bodybuilders that do splits and things like that on stages as well. Overall, this is a close race. I need to see Yujiro in a professional lineup performing the compulsory poses and quarter turns. But that's a good sign for him, as it means he's definitely competitive enough to give it a good run. That is assuming he doesn't just get pissed off and go apeshit on everyone first. So could Yuujiro Hanma win the Mr. Olympia competition? Yes, absolutely he could.